boys and girls, babies in your diapers. Welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Hoy.
That's me, Tiberius. Today we're going to talk about some very awesome stuff. We have a video about Uno to talk about, a book about making a pencil, and we have a totally awesome guest. Today we have the one, the only, the amazing Connor Boyack. Connor is an author and president of the Libertas Institute in Utah.
Yeah, that's a lot of people wonder how you say the name, but yeah, it's Libertas Institute. Actually, Tiberius, the Statue of Liberty, her name is Libertas. That's where we got the name.
Wow, that's actually pretty good fact. Well, today we're going to start off with a video game of the week, and this is going to be a shuffle.
And now it's time for the video game of the week.
Today's video game is Roblox Uno. So this is a game on the Roblox platform. It was made by that Timothy. Because it is on Roblox, you're able to play it on PC, Mac, Xbox, and even your cell phone. And it is free! Well, you may remember other That Timothy games like Stair Climbing Simulator, The Tower Tycoon, and That Timothy's Admin House. Well, you start the game and you are presented with a menu. The menu offers create a match, join a match, spectate a match, and lots of other items. Well, now, first off, I will tell you, if you don't know how to play Uno, this is a great way to learn. The computer will not let you cheat. The computer will ensure you can only play cards that fit, and you cannot sneak 2 cards from the deck. Well, now there are some options that you can do while creating your own game. You can play against NPCs, that means non-player characters, or computer players. Well, you can play against friends only, or just anyone. And now you can also adjust the match rules. You can change the number of starting cards. You can also do hardcore, which changes the time from playing to 15 seconds to 5 seconds. I give Roblox Uno 10 out of 10 stars because it is so much fun to play and know that no one else can cheat in the game. And I really like the stacking and plus 4 mania mixed together for really long games. Well, nothing is more fun than giving my dad like 12 cards in a row.
That sounds like a fun game.
Over 40 years, Lighthouse Central Florida has provided education, independent life skills, and job training to thousands of Central Floridians who live with blindness or any degree of vision loss. Whether it's picking out clothes in the morning or just moving around your community and serving Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties. Contact Lighthouse Central Florida at 407-898-2483 or visit them online at lighthousecfl.org. The Tiberius Show would like to thank one of our dedicated sponsors, Custom Designs Orlando. These guys are on Mills Avenue and do all sorts of stuff, ranging from photo ID badges, engraved signs, custom Braille ADA signs, vinyl lettering, to trophies and awards. They can ship products all over the United States. You can reach them at 407-898-0373. And now it's time for the book of the week, The Tuttle Twins and the Miraculous Pencil. This was written by Connor Boyack. Let me read to the back of the book. Wait, aren't you Connor Boyack? Well, do you want to do the honors?
I'd love to do the honors. Do your kids know how the free market works? Ethan and Emily Tuttle have grown up taking for granted the many things they use. Clothes, cars, homes, backpacks, even something as simple as a pencil. In this fun adventure to an amazing factory, the twins learn why even the common pencil is a miracle, one that nobody actually knows how to make, and how the process by which it is made is the key to prosperity in our modern age. Based on the classic essay, I Pencil by Leonard Read, your children will learn about the economic principles of spontaneous order, division of labor, competition, trade, and the free market, and why these things bring the people of the world together in peaceful cooperation.
Well, this book was written about something called economy. Oh, I remember on my third show with Dr. Ferret, we talked about economy. economy? Well, in this story, the Tuttle Twins get to go on a field trip to a factory that makes pencils. And I know you already know this story because you wrote it.
A little bit.
Well, it was interesting to learn that not only one person could just sit and make a pencil. It requires a lot of parts, and those parts require people that are needed to gather and refine the elements needed to make those parts. And those people need food and transportation and machines to be able to do their job. And not all of the people involved know they are helping to build a pencil.
Tiberius, you know what we do in our family now that my kids understand how something like even a pencil requires a lot of people to help, just like you were pointing out. Yeah. What we sometimes do is we'll talk about dinner. When we're sitting down to dinner, we'll say, okay, we're eating, whatever it is. We're eating a hamburger. We're eating mac and cheese. And then we try and think through who are all the people that helped us get this dinner on our plate. Right? Because it's one thing to think about for a pencil. You got a pretty cool hat on, Tiberius. I like your hat. Think through all the many people who had to help, all the little parts and all the little processes. Yeah, just to make your hat. It's kind of cool to think about.
We have a free market, which means that people can choose to do what parts they want to do. Also, everyone can do the job they want to do, and together they can achieve great things. Well, I give this book 10 out of 10 stars. Well, technically, 1,000,000 out of 10 stars. Because This was such a good book. And I loved learning more about how economy works. Well, I like learning about buying and selling things. Because I want to be an entrepreneur when I grow up. And it's like running your own business. And I think that is really, really cool. Mid-State Fire has been providing top-quality fire equipment services for 3 generations to the Central Florida area. Don't wait for an emergency to repair. Call Mid-State Fire today at 407-246-8855. Get your fire extinguishers and emergency lighting for both your home and businesses by visiting www.midstatefire.com. That number again is 407-246-8855. See TiberiusSmithLaw.com.
You can call him at 407-801-2667.
Wait, you are not Chuck.
My dad can help when people get hurt. He loves to help.
If you are ever injured at work or in a car accident, you should call my friend Chuck.
You can call him at 407-801-2667.
The website again is CWSmithLaw.com.
Offices, Orlando.
Does it actually have that much W's?
And now it's time for an interview of an interesting person. Well, today's guest is going to be so much fun. Today, we have the one, the only, the amazing Connor Boyack. Connor is an author and the president of the, what's it called again?
Libertas
Institute in Utah. Well, first off, how are you enjoying being on the show?
Hey, I think it's super cool that you even do this show. How old are you, Tiberius?
I'm only 9.
You're 9,
I started
okay.
when I was 7.
My son is 10, and you remind me a lot of him. So I think it's super cool that you do this.
Well, so to jump right in, I learned about you when my grandfather gave me the Tuttle Twins book, The Golden Rule. Well, what got you interested in being an author?
That's a good question. So when I'm the president of Libertas Institute, I am involved in changing a lot of people's minds. We write a lot of things to teach people about correct principles and about the kind of laws we should have. And then we are also in the business of going and changing those laws. So we'll talk to senators and we'll talk to representatives and elected officials, and we try and get them to change the law in the way that we want. So then I have 2 kids. And as I just said, my son is a little older than you and my daughter's a little younger than you. And several years ago, I would come home at the end of the day and I'd talk to my kids and I'd say, well, how was your day? What did you do? And they'd tell me. And then I'd want to tell them what I did. But then I was struggling. I was like, how do you talk to a little kid about, free market economics? Or how do you talk to a kid about what are individual rights? And so I started writing the books because I thought, you know what? I bet there's a lot of parents out there who want their kids to learn about these things too.
Yep. Well, what is the best part about writing this book series?
You know what? I think the best part is all the emails I get. I get emails from so many families and their little kids talking about which is their favorite book or what they learned or how much they like the books. And so it's super fun for me because I'm a dad and I want my kids to learn a lot. And so when I hear from other dads and moms who are talking to their kids and teaching their kids, I really, really like that. It's super fun for me to hear how many kids are reading the books.
Well, what is the hardest part about writing books?
I would say the hardest part about writing these books is finding clever ways to teach little kids some really big ideas. Because some of these, you just used the word a little earlier, entrepreneur, right? There's not a lot of 9-year-olds who even know that word, let alone know what it is, right? And so finding ways that we can help younger kids learn these ideas when most adults often don't even learn a lot of these ideas. And so it's a challenge for me to sit down and kind of scratch my head and say, what's a story I can use, or what's something I can say that will help kids better understand this idea? And that's a kind of a challenge. So, but it's really fun because when we see, kids reading the book and kind of their eyes open and they get it and they understand those ideas, that's a lot of fun.
So you write a lot about political and business issues, and I really enjoy learning about business. You also talk about government. Well, why are these subjects so important to teach to young children?
Ooh, great question. So young children grow up to be old children, and then they grow up to be voters, and they grow up to be adults. And all of us, no matter our age, Tiberius, we're always learning. And what I realized a few years ago was there's a lot of books out there for adults that teach these ideas. There's even some books for teenagers that teach these ideas. But since my kids at the time were young, I wanted to know where are the books for little kids that teach these ideas. And I couldn't find any. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to start writing some. And that's how the Tuttle Twins children's book series was started.
That's actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah, so I wanted little kids to be able to learn as well because everyone should be able to learn these ideas. I think it helps us to have happier lives. I think it helps us to better understand the way the world works. And I think little kids especially really want to understand how the world works and why do things happen the way they do. And I think little kids are very curious, so these books can help.
Like little children want to learn about this in the world, you can write a book about it.
That's exactly right.
And, well, now you have written 21 books. That is actually pretty much a lot. Well, which one was your favorite to write?
Ooh. I think one of my favorite ones to write was The Tuttle Twins and the Creature from Jekyll Island.
Ooh, that one is a good one.
Because it's got a scary monster in it. So it was fun to kind of say, oh, what could this scary monster do to mess things up? So that was kind of a fun one.
Like it can mess up beaches, can mess up buildings, like whoosh.
Change prices, steal people's money.
Well, I want to be able to run my own business one day. Well, are you going to write a book about how to start a business for kids as your 22nd book?
Well, we kind of have one already, but we might do another one about small business and entrepreneur. We have a book called The Tuttle Twins and Their Spectacular Show Business. And in that book, the twins learn all about how to set up a little business and how they can get a business plan and what they need to do to get investment to be able to have money so that they can buy the things they need. And so it's a way where little kids can learn about entrepreneurship in one of our books. So that's kind of a start to help learn about being an entrepreneur.
Was it with the banana stand?
That was the Road to Serfdom. So the Spectacular Show Business is when they had a theater. They got together and they decided to set up a theater together.
Maybe we only got 20 books. I haven't read that book yet.
Uh-oh. You got a book you can get later on.
Oopsie. Well, now your bio says that you are listed as one of Utah's most politically influential people by the Salt Lake Tribune. Does that mean that you got to help make and change laws like someone from the House of Representatives?
Kind of, yep. I work very closely with a lot of senators and a lot of representatives to change the law, but I'm out there trying to change the minds of those elected officials so that they'll do what we want, so that they'll create more freedom. So yeah, we work very closely with those people to get them to change the law in the way that we want them to.
Well, your bio says that you work on legislative objects like privacy, property, and rights, and education, and personal freedom. Well, what is one subject that you like working on the most?
You know, I really like working on property rights. There's a law called Eminent domain that lets the government just take people's property. I actually wrote about this in that Road to Serfdom book that you talked about with the banana stand, when they were trying to take I think it's Sanchez's farm, and they were trying to say, we're going to put a road through the middle of your farm. And the idea that the government can come up and just take people's property away from them, I think that creates a lot of problems. Some people have a lot of memories in their property, and it's their grandpas and their great grandpas, and it's where their family is raised. And so I want to make sure that the government can't just come around and take people's property unless there's some really, 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 really specific reasons. And so that's an issue that I really like working on.
So now you are the founder and president of the Libertas Institute. Can you tell my listeners what the Libertas Institute is?
Sure. We are what's called a think tank. And so that means we sit around all day thinking of how we can change the law. We come up with ideas and we say, you know what, that law needs to change. And so we're going to come up with a way that we can change people's minds, and we're going to write a book, or we're going to write a newspaper article, or put together a video, and we come up with ways to make that change happen. So our full-time job is just changing laws to create more freedom.
So people get together and talk about ideas? Well, can anyone join and think together?
There's a lot of groups like ours in other states. There's a group called the State Policy Network. And so you can look up their website, and you can find a group like mine, because we work in Utah and you're not in Utah, but there's groups like mine in every state. So if you look up the State Policy Network and say, who is the group working in my state? And then, you can go join them. You can go to their events. You can read their website. You can support the work they're doing. It could be a fun way for people like you to get more aware of what's happening in your community.
Well, what passion really got you to the point where you had to build this think tank?
I really care about freedom. I think it's really, really important. And in my state, I saw that there was no one that was really organized to do anything about it. And so I put together this organization as an effort to try and do something about it. I wanted to help people. I wanted to make sure that our rights were protected. And so that was kind of the thing that led me to do this, because I felt like nobody else was. And so I needed to just step up and do it.
Wow. So if you were to go back 10 years and tell yourself something, what would it be?
10 years, huh? I would say, that's an interesting question. If you went back 10 years, you couldn't tell yourself anything, right? You're only 9.
I could.
If I had to go back 10 years, I would tell myself that it's really, really important to work hard. It's really important to make sacrifices. If you believe in something, you need to work very hard. You need to be willing to give up, some other things sometimes, and be very focused to work hard for something that you believe in.
Wow. So what advice would you give my listeners if they wanted to grow up and work in the political world and write books?
If they wanted to do that, I would say the way to start is by reading a lot. You want to become really, really smart to do a job like this well, and that means you have to read what a lot of other smart people have written. And so you need to come up with ideas. You need to see what other people think. You need to think yourself about, are they right? Are they wrong? What do I agree with? What do I disagree with? And so reading a lot is very important.
Well, what is the biggest mistake you ever made, and how did it change you as a person?
The biggest mistake I made. Wow, you're putting me on the spot.
Yeah.
Let's think here. The biggest mistake I've ever made was probably, for me, it was going to college. My biggest mistake was going to college, because as I look back, I realized that I spent a lot of money and I spent a lot of time on something that I didn't end up needing. And so I wonder, looking back, how my life would be different and a little better, or I'd be progressed a little more if I would have gotten started on my job, if I would have started earlier rather than going to college. That, for me, was one of my biggest mistakes.
Well, okay. Now, can you tell me that one story? Remember, this is a kid's show. But that one story, well, that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on. You can tell me.
We have right now 11 books in our Tuttle Twins series, and right now we're working on number 12. And just before our interview, Tiberius, I'll have you know that I was in my office with a whiteboard, kind of the chalkboard whiteboard on the wall, and I was starting to write down ideas of what I think the next book should be. And one of the topics that I'm thinking about is big government. How when we are scared, like right now, a lot of people are scared about what's happening and the economy and their health. And if you look back through history, whenever there are times when a lot of people are scared about what's happening, they want someone to save them. They want someone with a plan. And then the people from the government come along and they say, I have a plan. I'll save you. Just give us your freedoms. Give us your rights, and we will control everything. And then we lose a lot of our freedoms when we're scared and when there's a crisis and something bad happens, because a lot of us want someone else to keep us safe.
Kind of like right now.
Kind of like right now. And so I thought,
like
you know what?
Now, because of the coronavirus, and
right.
People are freaking out when they really are not supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just looking for someone that really wants to take over them.
I think that's something.
Yeah.
I think that's something we've seen throughout history. So I thought, you know what? Maybe it would be good for families to be able to talk about these things with their kids. So maybe that'll be our next book. I was working on that just before you and I started chatting.
Is there anything I should think my listeners should know about you?
Oh, well, I am a homeschooling dad. So both my kids are homeschooled, and I'm a beekeeper. I really like beekeeping, and so those are a couple interesting things.
Well, do you have a website or Facebook for my listeners to want to follow you?
Yeah, we are on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter under the username Tuttle Twins. So look up the Tuttle Twins. You'll find us. Follow us. We share a lot of fun memes and content.
Memes?
And hope everyone follows.
Well, what's the one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
A question that I think you forgot to ask me? I don't know. You've been very thorough. You're a good interviewer. We've kind of gone beginning to end. I mean, you didn't ask me my social security number or anything crazy like that, which is probably good.
The Tiberius Show would like to thank Boggy Creek Airboat Adventures for being one of our sponsors. I got to go on an airboat and saw a real gator. I even got to go to the gem mine and mine for some gems. We ate a steak dinner at the restaurant and even got some gator rights. If you want to have a blast with the entire family, I suggest you go to www.bcairboats.com right now. Get your tickets today. The website again is bcairboats.com. Oak Ridge Gun Range is a family-oriented shooting range that has been in business for over 30 years. They specialize in basic firearm training and offer numerous services such as consignments, gun trades, gunsmithing, and concealed weapon classes. I even got my training for gun safety at Oak Ridge Gun Range. Great customer service, and firearm safety is what they do best. So find out more at oakridgegunrange.com. Aw, Dad, my computer's slow again and I can't play my games.
Call Your Computer Solutions today, and we will scan for viruses and clean that computer up remotely and make it fast again. Our phone number is 407-826-0810.
Thanks, Dad. My computer's fast again. Now I can do my homework. Thanks for calling Your Computer Solutions at 407-826-0810.
Tiberius' favorite subject, It's Math Corners!
Thank you so much, Connor, for helping me with Math Corners. We have been talking about geometry lately, and this week I got a math word bank. But most of the words are stuff that we have been talking about on the show. Now, we talked about congruent and similar objects. We talked about flip, turn, and slide. A bit ago, we talked about parallel lines and intersecting lines. We even talked about lines and line segments. So going through the list, I see that we did not talk about diameter. Did you know that the diameter of a circle is a chord that passes through the center point of the circle? It is also known as 2 times the radius. The radius is another one of my cool bank words. Well, a radius is a straight line from the center of a circle to the circumference of the circle. Well, now you know I love the number pi, so we will skip talking about it today. But a cool trick is that if you have more than one radius in the same circle, you can call them radii. Well, now most people don't even know that. So Connor, did you learn some more word bank words?
I agree.
Thank you so much, Connor, for your help with Math Corners. And now it's time for the Heart of a Lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by a Heart of a Lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and nobility. But this week, we're going to talk about leadership. For me, I think leadership is the act of loving what is good, having self-control, and being disciplined. Well, the qualities of leadership are providing guidance and direction, organization, and being a positive influence on others. Well, I saw leadership with my mom this week. She's having to work from home because to the coronavirus. But she still goes to work every day and makes sure that I get up for school. Well, she double checks to see that I am ready for online chapel and emails me all the stuff from my teachers. She sets timelines so that I won't be late for my radio show and reminds me to get dressed to go to the studio on time. By showing me the organization and helping me with my scripts, my mom provides guidance and direction and is a positive influence not only on me, but on the people that get to listen to the show. So Connor, did you see or use leadership at all this week?
Oh, yeah. I work in an area where you often see people who aren't exhibiting leadership, who don't have integrity. There are people who are making bad decisions. And so there's a lot of people, on the other hand, who are trying to do the right thing. Right now, I know a number of people who are trying to help fight coronavirus, and they're raising money for buying masks for doctors and nurses in the hospitals, and they're changing their businesses. Some people before were making something totally different in their businesses, and now everyone is sewing masks, to help people. So it's been really interesting to see when things are hard, when times are tough, it's a good opportunity for a lot of people to rise to the occasion and be a leader and be an example to other people.
Well, of all the Heart of a Lion virtues, which is your favorite?
I'm a big fan of integrity. I think it's super important to have integrity in what we do and, to not be hypocritical, but to be truthful and have good character. And so those are things that really speak to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, we should always try and be lion strong in everything we do.
I agree.
And that's our show, folks. I want to thank the one, the only, the amazing Connor Boyack for being on my show. It has been so much fun talking with you today, and I have to read all the rest of your books as you write them.
I hope you pick up the rest of them. So anyone who's interested, you can look it up on TuttleTwins.com and get the books for your kids, just like Tiberius. If you want your kids to be like Tiberius, super smart and knowing a lot of this stuff, check out the Tuttle Twins at TuttleTwins.com. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And be sure to listen to us next week on the Tiberius Show. The host, Tiberius!
The Tiberius Show is not filmed in front of a live studio audience. Executive producer, Joseph Boy. Production editor, Pierre Laguerre. Green Room manager, Danny Boy. And your program host, Tiberius Boy. The Tiberius Show is copyright 2018.